Welcome back to Party XP. It's a Jeff episode, so you know what that means, Lakan.
That means you're in charge, and I'm over here being a baby about it.
That's right. I'm batting the lead off today, boys and girls, so strap in, because I got a big one for you here. But before we get into that, let's say hello. Let's exchange pleasantries here, Lakan. How's it going?
Okay, so it says here on the script that it is my turn to talk. Okay, Lakan, start talking now. Yeah, nothing's really going on my end. A couple, I finally came back from a trip from Portland. I think I mentioned that already in the previous trip. I also went to the beach a couple times as well, especially because we're seeing the end of summer here.
It's the worst. I hate the end of summer.
It's still pretty nice out, so you still can do like summer stuff, right? Like,
yeah.
When do you officially stop your summer activities?
That's a really good question. Usually it was like the middle towards the end of September, but I feel like the weather's changed. And I mean, I'm sure somebody with a tinfoil hat is saying, "Oh, global warming," and they're probably right. But I feel like now summer kind of feels like July to September instead of June to August, right?
Yeah. Like, for me, as long as it's like kind of nice out, I'll start doing stuff. But like for me, like the summer activities is usually like June, like late June.
Yeah,
like, going to the shore, the water's too cold still. In early June, like usually like by my birthday, like end of June is like the first time.
Right, the end of June.
Like I'll start doing the shore, and it feels like okay, I can go into the water without feeling like I'm freezing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then like September, like I went like last weekend, which is still first week of September. It's still pretty nice out. The water was perfect, by the way. And then I think it's like mid to like late September. That's when like the water starts really cooling down. You can't really go in the water anymore. You can dip your feet and like do that stuff. But I still do a lot of outdoorsy stuff, especially when it gets to like the weather starts becoming like actual fall weather. It doesn't feel like death to go outside anymore. That's when I started thinking about camping versus going to the shore. Is like like my official switch from like summer to fall. You know what I mean? That's my switch. And that's usually around like late September, early October. Basically after Comic-Con is when I started. I started thinking, okay, how do I get away from people in the woods? Yeah, but how about you? Anything new with you?
Nah, not really.
Nothing?
Just a whole lot of nothing here. As we're recording this, Cobra Kai just released, so the missus and I are binging that.
Nice.
So we're almost done. So far, so good. It's fun, and of course, tomorrow's week 1 of NFL football. It's exciting. It's the one bright spot in the summer ending. I'm an August baby, so for me, the summer is my season. So when summer ends, it's kind of bittersweet for me, but it means all the sports are coming back, and so football, baseball, or pardon me, no, definitely not baseball. Football, hockey, basketball, all are headed back. So that's always a good sign for me.
Yeah, I don't think we ever said it in the previous recording either. But happy birthday! I was out of town during your birthday.
Yeah, I had the thing on my birthday, so that was fun. But thank you.
You did get a gift though from me, right?
I did get 2 gifts from you. One I really enjoyed, and the other was a Super Saiyan Goku Kaioken blue figure.
Yeah, and the other gift was obviously the better of the 2, right?
Right. We're just gonna. I'm sure throughout the Party XP cinematic universe, the other gift you got me will come out
eventually
at some point.
Eventually, it'll be something that'll come up and randomly expose some lore for us.
Right. But that's also a good opportunity to plug the new things that I've been working on. So rather than just be a podcast and an audio medium, I have been hard at work putting together a YouTube channel and a Twitch channel for the podcast. And hopefully we are going to start creating content for both of those websites.
Yes.
So please feel free to find us, follow us, eventually subscribe to us, and give us money so this can be our day job and we can do more fun things like this instead of going to work.
Yeah, and hopefully when we finally get everything kind of like settled in, we'll probably start doing a couple streams. Maybe even just us hanging out, talking for a while, or even some games that aren't going to be in the actual show, but stuff that we like enjoy playing together.
And who knows, maybe there will be some games that will feature on there that we'll be talking about it in the future.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
So speaking of which, I guess it's time to get into what I think you'll enjoy playing because it's something that I've talked about quite a bit on this show. And it's either Doom Eternal or this. So strap on in, pal. So the last time we kind of talked about games, I am pretty sure that I gave you a game that was near and dear to my heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so here's another one that I've gotten into over the past few years, and basically it got me through the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
In any sort of amount of way, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd rather give you this versus what I started on my journey with, and that's Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
to start kind of from the beginning, obviously I think we all kind of played Yu-Gi-Oh! When it first came out. We had our vanilla beaters, we had our old school slow ass decks. I know a couple of our friends and I got back into it when we were in college because we were in like a trading card phase. We played a lot of Magic, we played Pokemon, we played a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! But that was kind of the game that we didn't really gravitate towards as a group. And once the pandemic hit, I was kind of looking for something to do that was a little different. And I got into Duel Links. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links is a mobile game. It's available on PC, but usually it's definitely a mobile focused game, and it's got a different sort of rule set to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game that you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the field is smaller. There's only 3 monster zones, 3 spell zones, right? And the game is much faster paced, even considering modern day Yu-Gi-Oh is super fast paced, but this game is on a completely different level. And I had some fun with it. A couple months ago, I think it's been less than a year, Yu-Gi-Oh dropped Master Duel. Well, Konami, the company that makes Yu-Gi-Oh, dropped Master Duel, which is kind of a TCG-esque simulator. It kind of has its own set of ban lists and available cards and things like that they're slowly rolling out in further expansions to get it up to date. But I've been having a really great time with it. It's been a lot of fun, and it's super free to play friendly. And I think that especially for someone who hasn't played much, I think you'll have a good time with it. If not just because you won't have to drop any money into a trading card game, right? And we know
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
expensive these games can get. So I think you play it through a little bit, and I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. It's been probably a while. The game is definitely way different than it was when we were growing up. It's definitely a lot faster paced, and I know many people are afraid to get into Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's definitely not as challenging as you think it is, especially for guys like us that kind of remember the game in a certain way. Throw that out. That's not the game anymore. But I think you'll have a fun time because I know you enjoy trading card games.
Yeah, so my trading card game of choice is Magic the Gathering, and I haven't
Boomer.
really played actively as of late. Obviously, like I still have some of my main decks. I've torn apart a couple of them, and I've sold most of my extra cards at this point. So I kind of just have like my 8 or 9 decks that I still keep like as like a kind of like a memento of like when I was really really actively playing. And if some case just in case someone goes, hey, I want to play, you know, Magic the Gathering, I'm looking to learn it. I have some decks that are relatively simple to learn and play. So that's kind of like my whole shtick, right? Like I like relatively not simple, but like I keep like a baseline of like stuff around just so I can play stuff. Yu-Gi-Oh.
Thank you for just powering through me calling you a boomer when you started talking about Magic.
No, absolutely. I totally understand that I chose the old man game compared to these young and spry Yu-Gi-Oh Magic anime players.
These
um,
fucking Vanguard kids and their
their
Digimons and all these
Digimons
other
and their
games.
Vice Schwartz and their Pokemonses. Um,
Ooh, speaking of Bratwurst or Weisswurst or whatever that other game is,
Yeah, Vice Schwartz, yeah.
Vice Verse, yeah, Vice Verse.
Fine, whatever.
Um,
We'll take it.
yeah. So I just bought a couple of singles, right? I'm building a dinosaur deck, and I'm on like the final couple of cards before this thing is finally playable. and one of the vendors I bought cards from sent me 3 of the Vice Verse or whatever this game is cards.
Hmm.
They're like these shiny little hollow anime girl cards that are in Japanese. I have no idea what they are. I have no idea what they mean, but I have them.
Nice.
So I'm 3 cards into a Vice Verse deck. But please continue.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, like I like some of the newer card games. I haven't like built a deck in like a Vice Force. I tried the DBZ card game, and a
I've heard
couple.
that's fun.
Yeah, I've heard it's fun, and it's just that like I don't know, something about like Magic being like kind of the granddaddy of these games. I really, really appreciate because you mentioned that like Yu-Gi-Oh plays relatively fast, at least nowadays compared to how it used to play.
Correct.
But but the main framework of the game is still there. Magic has hit kind of the same thing. Well, it comes in cycles, right? Because they release blocks and then they bring back, they go back to a particular time and they bring back some of the mechanics from the previous cards. So I'm sure I'll probably see something like that here in Yu-Gi-Oh. For
Oh
me,
yeah.
my experience with Yu-Gi-Oh, I have not honestly played a Yu-Gi-Oh game in, I don't know, man. Like physically, I haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh in probably over 15, 16 years, back when
Oh
we were
yeah.
still in high school, maybe
When's
even
the
like
last time I played a Yu-Gi-Oh video game?
Yu-Gi-Oh video game. Ooh, probably middle school. I was probably like 12 or 13. I had like the Forbidden Memories, the one that like the one
Oh,
that
you're
played
in for a fun
the one that
treat.
played like nothing like the actual game, where you just combined
Yup.
random cards and just made random shit. Like that was
So, fair listener, you may not know this, but during the early era of Yu-Gi-Oh, there wasn't actually a card game for the game developers and even the manga artists to draw from. So basically, they were all kind of throwing stuff at the wall to see if it stuck. And that's why all those early Yu-Gi-Oh games and all the early Yu-Gi-Oh anime and manga seasons play completely differently and act completely differently from the actual card game. So we're not talking about 8,000 lives and tribute summoning and forget even any of the extra deck monsters that have come into play now. I mean, the moon or like the zodiac system that Forbidden Memories has, right, where you have like Sun, Moon, Neptune, Jupiter, right? Those designations. That was something that they tried out that didn't end up getting included into the game. All the monsters are like 1,200 attack.
yeah,
And then there's
basically.
also completely busted cards like Raigeki and Pot of Greed and Dark Hole and all that. So it's funny to go back and play those and see how completely different they are and how things could have been so completely different had one of those ideas stuck, right? Like, so if like the zodiac system stuck and you played your blue eyes in Sun and you fought something in Moon and it killed it or something. It's interesting to think about how the game could have changed. But so I'm glad you're coming into this completely blind.
Basically, yeah. Again, like, it's been over. Oh man, yeah, probably over 16 years since I've actually played Yu-Gi-Oh. I was probably 16 or 15 still, and even then, around that time, I know the game was starting to get more complicated around that point when they were starting
Right.
to do some of the more modern ideas and takes on stuff instead of having to only have beat sticks and a couple polymerizations and card effects and stuff like that.
Right.
When I look at um like, I still have some friends from church who still play, and I know they play like relatively competitively. They win a couple tourney. I always see them posting on Instagram or something. They win like a tourney or something, like a local. Um, and when I see like the cards now, I just see like a wall of text on the little bottom of the card, and I'm just like, again, like, my eyes glazed over. I'm like, that's a lot going on. Just tell me what I have to worry about on my end. And I've played with them a
Right.
little bit, and it's just like there's too much here. Like I like, and it's coming from me, the Magic the Gathering guy, where there's just as much, if not arguably more, right? More
Right.
mechanics
30 years of mechanics
that I have to
that
worry
you have
about.
to worry about,
Yeah,
right?
but
Even though
like,
the cards aren't 30 years old, which is something we'll probably get into with Magic. And one of the reasons I'm not super keen on Magic when compared to Yu Gi Oh! And even to a lesser extent Pokemon, but I figure early on in this, I don't think we want to get into a super deep discussion about the intricacies of trading card games and what we think the right way to keep things fresh is. We both know how Magic keeps the game fresh on top of the traditional way, which are ban lists and things like that. But I think we'll save that for the second half of our discussion.
Yeah, we might even just do a. Yeah, I'm actually even down for the idea of just us talking about card games and why we like which ones we do. I'm honestly down for that as well.
Hell yeah,
Um,
get ready for that. I think
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
lot of fun.
because I've got like Legends of Runeterra under my belt. I think we both have a little bit of Hearthstone experience as well too.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we'll just talk about that one day.
I was looking, it's funny you mentioned that because I have been playing a lot of Blizzard games lately, unfortunately.
I'm
And
sorry.
I saw Hearthstone. I know. Fuck. I saw Hearthstone and I was like, I used to really like Hearthstone. And I haven't played it in God knows how long. But it was always fun. Like I always really enjoyed it. So, maybe that is something that we go back to, and I would like that.
Yeah,
But I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with Master Duel here. I think you come into this with a sort of idea of a deck you want to build,
yeah,
but
yeah. I have an idea of a deck. I remember I ran it by you off recording, and I mentioned it because someone did build a deck for me. Actually, maybe not even 16 years ago, but yeah, probably like I want to say like 7, 8 years ago. Someone built me a deck, the Super Heavy Samurai, I think it's called.
mhm.
I never even used the damn thing. Like he literally built me a proper deck, like actually built like a decent deck for me to play with so I can kind of like just mess around with them every once in a while. And I never used the damn thing. So I don't even remember any of the cards that are in there. All I remember is that like they looked pretty cool. And that was about it.
That's
Um,
like half the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just like, do the cards look cool? I have literally built an entire deck for the dear listener at home that is Sword Soul, just because the cards all look really cool. And now there's another new archetype that just came out that is named, leave this in, leave it all in.
yep,
Leave it all in.
yep.
Leave the awkward
Just
in as I
just
try to Google and
awkward
figure
silence in
out.
here.
Yeah, just leave it all in as I try to figure out what the heck
Well,
this.
while you're looking that up, let me just make a quick point here. It's weird because I look at Yu-Gi-Oh and it feels like it's more structured and there's a lot more going on. Because I mean, the board's more structured, right? There's 5/5, and then occasionally a land card, and then your side deck,
It's
which
called
you
a field spell.
feels whatever.
You
Um,
fucking boomer.
whatever stadium card, whatever you want to call it. So, but for Magic the Gathering, I can have an infinite number of creatures on my side, creatures or monsters, whatever you want to call them. We're gonna be listener. Don't get mad at us. We know the terms, but we're just trying to cover our bases here because it's just gonna be we're gonna be flying using Yu-Gi-Oh Magic terms relatively back and forth here. I'm just gonna interchange them. If you get pissed about it, be angry about it. I don't care.
Valence is the new archetype that
Va-
was just released in
Valence. Okay.
Tactical Masters, and they're really cool looking cards.
Mm.
And they're a pendulum archetype, which you're gonna have fun with,
Yeah, like
even though it's not really that hard.
you're throwing out these keywords, and I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I mean, even a couple years ago, I remember seeing XYZ summon and
It's not that hard.
some other fusion stuff. And I'm like, again,
Not hard.
my issue is just the wall of text. That's the issue that throws me off. I'm like,
Mm.
I don't want to read all this
You'll
because
you'll figure out pretty quickly what you actually have to pay attention to,
Mhm.
and it's basically everything after the words quick effect.
Got it. Okay.
Because
Yeah.
quick effect means you can use it on both players' turns.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really what it
So it's kind of
means.
like it's kind of like an instant spell then for Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because yeah, like for Magic the Gathering, it feels relatively more open, right? Again, I can have more creatures on the field. I can have an
Oh yeah,
infinite
you
number of
can have
creatures on the field.
100 different things going
I
on
can have,
in a magic board.
I can have as many. Obviously, I have to worry about the lands. You don't worry about lands in here. You usually tribute monsters to
Hmm.
like to summon the stronger stuff here, usually, right? So it feels like Magic in not even some way in most ways is more free flow, more like open, right? You can do more stuff. There's more freedom in Magic the Gathering.
Right. Because you have a resource system in Magic, you don't have that in Yu-Gi-Oh,
Yeah.
which is why like your resource generation, and one of the Yu-Gi tubers I watched, the Dual Logs, brought up a great point in one of his latest videos where Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have a resource generation system. Your resources are your cards and your monsters and your spells and traps, right? So drawing into them is the most valuable part of Yu-Gi-Oh because that's the only resource. It's the only way you can do things. If you don't have cards in your hand or cards on your field, you can't you can't do much, right?
Yeah, yeah. I understand drawing is a resource a little bit because of, well, even more so because of Slay the Spire. Because,
Right.
like, you have to consider the fact you have to actually get into your hand during that turn, and hopefully your deck reshuffles and you can get it again, right? Magic the Gathering, this I mean, I think probably the same thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's probably a decent amount of deck manipulation. I'm assuming there probably is anyway.
Oh yeah, of
So
course.
that's why I'm like, I'm probably not too thrown off by it. I think I don't have to worry about it too much. But yeah, I understand the essentially the most important part is just getting it into your hands so you can actually do it. So that I kind of understand the basics again still, even though I haven't played in over, yeah,
Right.
again, over
And the
10
good thing is
years.
with Master Duel, and I will tell you this, Master Duel has an extensive tutorial. They also have a solo mode
Hmm.
where it's designed to teach you the lore behind the cards. It's also a really great resource to work on your deck building and, you know, try your combos and see how your deck draws and all of that, see what your opening hands look like and see if you have to make adjustments without any real consequences. Like you're not playing another person. You don't have to worry about taking your time and reading all the cards and timing out and dealing with that. So I think Master Duel as a standalone Yu-Gi-Oh entity does a really great job of introducing you to the game and helping you understand just what's happening because the game does get complicated with all the moving parts and all the monster effects and oh, you activated a trap and what does this do and there's a lot going on that can be confusing, but Master Duel does a really great job of not only showing you the ropes but keeping things streamlined and easy to sort of understand, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm excited for you to give this a shot. I know getting into a new card game is daunting. I literally just tried it with Digimon. I played like the tutorial app on the phone and I was like you mentioned, like my eyes glazed over. I had no idea what the hell was going on. But all the cards look cool and War Greymon's there. So I'm like, I want to at least give it a shot. And I think Yu-Gi-Oh is honestly a little bit easier to understand, at least from where I'm concerned. And at the very least, this is a no risk thing for you. You don't have to spend any money on this game. You can craft all the cards that you need just from playing through the game. The game gives you decks to start out with, so you
I
can
always appreciate that. Oh, like
right,
especially like MTG Arena did that where they give you the most, like, one of the most current decks, basically. You know what I mean? Like a start, like
right.
essentially like the decks that you get in the game, like of Magic the Gathering Arena, are like, from my understanding, very close, if not exactly the same as the current block that is currently available
Hmm.
now, like in physical card form as well. So
Right,
that's always good.
and that's also why I want you to do Master Duel, which may seem more confusing at the jump rather than Duel Links, because I feel like Duel Links requires a bit of an investment versus in Master Duel, where basically when you kind of get started in playing and doing all your early game missions and playing a little bit on the ladder, you can build basically two decks, two complete decks with ultra rares and super rares just based on the resources that you'll generate from there and with the gems that you can use to open packs and stuff like that.
Word.
So I'm going to send you a few resources here. I'm always here. I think this is going to be a bit different than the other games that we'll play because like I want you to ask questions. I don't want you to go into this completely lost. I because I know that it can be a little scary right
Yeah,
at first.
but I'm also a veteran of card games here. You know, like, again, you said before, I'm the boomer card game player, so I'm
Right.
pretty sure I can figure this out.
I'm sure I have faith, but I just, I want to set you up at least so that you're not completely lost and then you don't build a Blue Eyes White Dragon deck first like I did and waste an entire deck's worth of resources when you could have built something good.
Yeah, how long until I can bully someone's grandpa into the hospital?
That's pretty much immediate.
Awesome. I'm looking.
All right.
This is gonna be my villain arc. I'm excited for this one.
Well, we look forward to seeing Lacan's true descent into madness. Any other questions before we time warp here?
I guess nothing really. Again, again, I have a basic understanding of Yu-Gi-Oh, so this should be it. And I think if any of the other questions come up, I'll just ask you, and then we'll probably discuss a couple of the more interesting points in the second half of this episode.
And more importantly, we'll play some duels.
Yeah, we'll. So this one's again is gonna be probably a little different from our regular episodes where we're probably gonna be playing together a little bit more often for this one versus the other games, which are primarily single player, with a slight multiplayer maybe added in for some other stuff. But this one, yeah, we're probably gonna be playing against each other a little bit here.
All right, and we'll see how Lakan does in 2 weeks. But for you guys, it'll be a brief intermission. So stay tuned, and we'll see you in a little bit. All right, folks, it's been 2 weeks. Lakan, how'd you think Master Duel went?
There is a lot going on in Yu-Gi-Oh, and remember I said before I felt not like overwhelmed by it. I no, I think I did say I was overwhelmed by it. Well, last time I played with my friends, a lot of that came back to me when I was playing this game. That
Mm.
same feeling of like, there's a lot going on, or I don't know what this guy's doing. Because, okay, so people who make their decks, right? They obviously know how it works, and that's going to be the case because you made your deck, right? The
Right.
issue is there's like not something to show you exactly what the card does in a condensed form when you're playing the game. Like you have to like hover over the graveyard, find the card they just played, hover over it yourself so you can read it,
Mm-hmm.
and then do all that. That's also partially like an issue with online card games, right? Because the big reason I don't play a lot of online card games. I don't know if I mentioned this in the first half or not, but there's a big thing of like me just like I like to like sit down, especially when I'm building a deck, just sit down and just have all the cards like sitting in front of me and just like try to figure out what goes where and what can work with what kind of deal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's not as much of that here. I mean, there is because you can build your deck still and get highlight all the cards and stuff. Oh god, oh god, I'm choking myself.
Oh, leave it in.
Uh, I can.
Leave it all in.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm just dying.
That's
um,
fine.
I choked on my spit. I know one of you sickos love that. um, so like you can sit down, build your deck, and hover over cards, and look at a pre-built deck list, right, and just copy that deck. Um, but the issue for me is like when I'm trying to remember why did I put this card in here? Oh, it's because of this card. You know what I mean? It's like I like thinking of like a logical chain and seeing it like physically put out in front of me, so I can like commit it to memory. That's just one of the few things that I like um personally had difficulty with this game. But that being said, let me like start from the top again for like my experience overall. There was a lot of me like getting very confused as I was getting started with this game. So the game starts off with a couple questions asking about your experience with Yu-Gi-Oh in the past. I don't know how long you've been playing this game for at this point. Like the Master Duel specifically. But do you remember that asking you the question?
Oh yeah.
Very nice. I really like that because it's like I've seen the show once. You know what I mean? Or it's like, oh no, I've played the game before. It's like, okay, cool. So if I'm assuming that like it tailors the tutorial to you, I guess, to some extent, right?
I think it gives you the same tutorial regardless,
Okay.
but I think it I don't really know how it changes because, the way that I experienced it was, yeah, I had already been playing Duel Links for a while. I was already getting back into the actual card game by the time Master Duel came out. So a lot of the mechanics and stuff like that weren't new to me, but it still did a really nice job of providing a really in-depth tutorial.
Yeah, the tutorial is very, very deep, but it bothered me with its pacing. So the tutorial starts off explaining the basics, right? Like you can put one monster card down every turn unless you like do a tribute summon or a special summon and so on and so forth, right?
Mhm.
Uh, can't attack on the first turn, all this other stuff, right? Um, and all the I just yeah again I just felt like I was getting overloaded because even the cards they give you have like effects on them. You know what I mean? I'm like I don't know what this card is. I have to look
Right.
at it. And I'm like okay, hold on. Is this important to the tutorial? Is this related? Is this like okay? Let me just keep playing, whatever. And I got to the tutorial, It was fun. Like like the tutorials. There's just a lot going on. At least like after the first like 2-3 steps, we're like, okay, I remember this. This is Yu-Gi-Oh. This is just playing put a monster down, tribute two to summon something bigger and hit them directly or whatever. Right.
Right.
I was fine with that. And then I got into the solo missions, which was like a more focused trials thing, I guess. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Correct.
and that's when I also remembered. Oh, I should probably look at like see what the decks they have built into the game. And I saw there's Dragon Maids in there, and I was like, "Yo, let's go! This is my deck. I'm in." Um, yeah, so Dragon Maids. I was like, they're cute. I like them. And then I saw there's also a little. I saw a little Dragon Maid like character friend or whatever that sits on the side of the deck or of the play area, and I bought that as well. But
Okay.
yeah, so it was cute. I was like, this is the deck that I want. This is the deck made for me. I thought super heavy samurais was my thing. No, dragon waifu. This is exactly what I want. And surprisingly, I wasn't the only person playing this deck either.
No, you are definitely not the only person playing that deck.
Yeah,
Everybody loves it.
that's good. I genuinely thought I was like, oh, this is just degen me coming out. I was like, no, it's a cute,
Nope.
cute card deck. And it's a pretty fun style. Once I like actually like sat down and read the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is gonna be a repeating thing for me. There's a lot to read. It's an issue again of playing a card game online versus playing a card game in person. Where in person, like, do you remember when we played Magic the Gathering and like we were trying to tell you how to play the game? We
Right.
can like shorten like things into like a sentence kind of deal. There's none of that in here, right? There's no chat in the in-game function.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I can be like, what does that do? Like, oh, this I sacrifice this, it summons this. Okay, got it. Thank you. Move along. Right?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like no. I have to like hover over every individual card and read it myself. So about the Dragon Maid deck because you get a pretty generous amount of like gems and stuff early on in the game too, which I
Yes, you
really
do.
really appreciate. There's not a whole lot of me having to grind to get stuff, which is very good because Legends of Runeterra, Magic the Gathering, they both give you a good amount of stuff as well. And I don't know which card game did it first, but like it is something I very much so appreciate. Coming back to a online card game where it's like we know some people are gonna want to spend money and some people don't. So
Right.
we're gonna give you a not like a taste, you know what I mean? But like no, we're gonna give you like a decent amount of like materials just playing the tutorial. Here you go, have fun. Which is good, which is always good because again, the less money I can spend on a virtual card game that doesn't have any actual
Mm-hmm. And
value.
that's kind of why I went with Master Duel over Duel Links or anything else because I thought it was very free to play friendly.
Very much so. Very much so. The fact that I was able to also start building my decks later. I guess I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But yeah, the fact that I was able to like actually customize my Dragon Maid deck pretty
Mm-hmm.
easily, I was very happy with. So yeah, so I started doing the solo missions, bought the Dragon Maid pre-built deck once I started exploring a little bit. I thought the solo missions would have a little bit more focused trials with the starter deck because I think Hearthstone, Runeterra, and Magic I think did their tutorial better because it felt like the trials were like, oh, you can use whatever deck you want half the time, right? But it's like it tells you something and here's how to do it unless there's like a specific requirement to do, right? Like pendulum summoning or it was like,
Okay.
okay, here's the basic mechanic you need to do. Have you done it once or twice now? Have you read all the notes? Okay, go do it. And it's like I have to play out an entire duel. So it's like if I didn't retain anything right off the bat, I would just immediately like I'm gonna leave.
Well, the easiest way to make sure that doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, read. I know, but I'm not gonna do.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
If it makes you feel better, nobody reads,
Yeah.
so don't worry about it.
But it's like again, I'm trying to give like an honest attempt at playing this game. So it's like if I like realize I screwed up once, it's like okay, I can keep playing this out. It's fine, which is great. You don't automatically fail the tutorial.
Right.
But I
Hmm.
was like, okay, hold on, I think I missed something. Like because clearly the opponent's CPU's deck is scaling way faster than mine ever could.
Yes. So that is one of my big gripes with the solo missions is that the decks that they give you oftentimes, especially when you get into the I don't know if you manage to do the ones near the bottom, like the special event,
Oh
like where they
no.
play through all the anime duels and stuff like that.
Yeah, no. I got through the first and the second click on the left, on the top left, and the middle. The first two.
Okay.
Which is
Okay.
like how to pendulum summon, how to XYZ, how to synchro. And I was like, okay,
Right.
I can deal with these. And then like the next two I saw were very very deck specific.
Right. So basically, what the other solo missions do is give you sort of the background info on a ton of different archetypes, and they also unlock those cards for you so you can start to build those decks.
Oh yeah, I noticed that when I would do certain challenges that required specific cards, they would just give it to you. Like they gave you a Raigeki.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Especially in the first two, they set you up with kind of your staples, and they do a good job of sort of giving you powerful cards that everybody should have, while also, letting you kind of get creative with the decks that you have available
Yeah,
to you.
I understand the idea they were going for. I just would have liked a more like, here's how you do this. You did it. Okay, go do it one more time without us telling you how to do it. Read the highlights of the cards, right? And then do it once. And then cool, you pass the trial, move along. I don't know, something a little bit more focused. I think I would have liked more. Something a little shorter, because the thing is, like, as well as like, if especially when you're like a returning player or someone who's new coming to this game, again, it's daunting, right? I used the word before. It's like there's just a wall of text, and it's like, man, I have so much to learn right now, especially if you're not playing with somebody like well versed in the game as you.
Yeah, yeah. I in hindsight, I probably should have done some duels with you before this, even outside of the stuff that we were going to record for our just for content, but just to kind of give you the lay of the land before playing.
Yeah,
I kind of wish I was able to do that for you,
because
but
again, like the time when I was playing this game still was probably like middle school, maybe a little bit
hmm
in like, yeah, like maybe late middle school, early high school at the latest, where it was like every deck was just like a beat down deck, right? Beat stats,
right.
four stars, 1800, and just swing for the fences, right? And
They
within
were
like
all vanilla monsters,
with
right?
an occasional, something like 1600, 500 with like an effect. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like very, very straightforward. And it was mostly around like spell and trap play, and just while beating each other up, right? That's basically what it
hmm
was. Not a lot of whole moving around each other with like, cards that like negate card effects and stuff like that.
There was none of that.
It was very early on. It was very beat down. It was just like, no, I have the bigger monster, so I'm gonna win this fight.
Right. Much slower paced, much sort of simpler, but you
Yeah.
were able to kind of process the deck and figure things out.
Also, I do appreciate one thing from the solo mode. Like, because I did the solo mode and had everything written out, this is one of the times I was like, I have to read this because I need to learn what the hell this actually is, the XYZ and the synchro summon. So I was like, I'm just gonna go ahead and read this, and then I realized, oh, it's a side deck thing. Okay, got it. So this is
Right.
like, so now I
The
know
extra
better.
deck.
Yeah, or extra deck. Yeah, sorry.
hmm
I'm gonna flip through again Magic terminology and
No, it's
Yu-Gi-Oh
fine.
terminology here. But yeah, it's like the extra cards that are like meant to play directly into it, because it's a little bit different from the way Magic treats it, where it's like you can swap out cards from your main deck. Where this is like, no, this is this is a select of cards specifically, so you don't have to have them in your deck to like, to have to like dig around and rummage for them.
Right, right, right. So there is a side deck in physical Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you play in tournaments, there is the side deck available to you. So that's still
Oh,
something that's
okay,
in
okay.
here. But on the ladder, when you're in ranked mode and when you're in sort of like the casual free duel modes, right?
Hmm.
And it's one of the things that many top level players are upset with, is that there isn't a 2 out of 3 with a side deck option for ranked. You get one duel, and if you don't have everything available that you need to destroy your opponent's back row, to counter certain strategies, that's it. You're cooked.
Okay.
Enjoy your loss. See you later. And
So there's a slight annoyance with this game as well then because of it.
right, so
Okay.
you have to build your deck with,
The side deck
and you sort of
included.
have to with your side deck in mind. So like I run anti spell removal, right? Or I run spell removal cards or back row removal cards on the ladder because you never know when you're going to run into Eldritch or another, back row heavy sort of control stun deck, right?
Okay.
But you don't want to have that situation where you run into those and you lose. But at the same time, it sucks when you need one of your cards that to make a play and you draw
You're flooding yourself with other cards you don't need at the moment.
correct,
Yeah.
and then you draw twin twisters, and that's it. You're cooked.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, same as any other card game, you have to put in work to like figure out how to build a deck, right?
Hmm.
Or just do what other people do as well, which I partially did, was just copy a build, right? Like copy a deck.
Of course, and then you tweak it based on your specifications. Honestly, what I do with a lot of the decks, especially the archetypes that I'm a big fan of. So for everyone listening, so I play Dinos, which is kind of a sort of top tier meta relevant deck. It's a very strong deck
You're sweaty. Got it.
because not really. So I do have a sweaty deck. I do have like the tier one sword soul, very powerful, very meta defining deck. But dinos are sort of they exist just outside of the meta. I think they're coming back into meta because we're basically at full strength right now.
Okay.
But what I'll do is I'll look at a ton of other decks and then pick and choose what I want. So do I want, to run certain extra deck monsters, right? Do I want to run more synchro monsters because I have that option? But certain decks don't. A lot of decks, especially if you look at the top decks on Master Duel meta, they don't run it's called the DPE engine. So basically you have two Destiny hero monsters, Fusion Destiny, and a Link monster named Predaplant Verts Anaconda that'll allow you to summon Destiny Phoenix Enforcer, one of like the strong or Destruction Phoenix Enforcer, whatever it's called. Basically, one of the strongest monsters in the game because it has a quick effect destruction option, and that kind of works well with dinosaurs because dinosaurs like getting their cards destroyed because they activate effects in the graveyard.
Mm.
But you just have to find what kind of works for you, and I think that is the fun part about deck building games in general is
Oh
that
yeah, absolutely.
you kind of find what cards you like, and like just looking at a lot of the top decks here, they run certain cards that I don't, but I run certain cards that they don't, and it works for me and it works for them obviously too because they're at a very high rank. But I did pretty well. I'm in diamond, right? Or platinum. I'm sorry, the second highest level. I'm working my way up to diamond.
Congratulations again.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Um, but all that is to say that there's no one way to do this, right? Whatever works for you, I think having these resources available to you is helpful as a starting place. But whatever works for you is what you should run with, and whatever cards you like or whatever cards you feel comfortable. So if somebody's running a card that you don't like, so for me that's a card called I believe it's called Small World, right? There are decks that run 3 copies of this card. I don't run it at all. Number one, because I can't figure it out. I never understand what it does. So it's basically just 3 dead cards because I don't get it, right?
Okay, got it.
But if you look, there are many cards that don't run it at all, and they do fine without it. So you look. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like you can run what you want as long as you run the core cards, you'll be okay. And don't be afraid to mix in other staple cards, other powerful cards, because you never know when you might have an opportunity to use it and it might turn the duel in your favor. But basically the gist of all of this is that, like I said, there's more than one way to do this. Find what works for you, find what you're comfortable with, and run with that.
Yeah, that's kind of how I play most card. Again, I play card games. Like
Right.
yeah. So it's like this. If anything, that entire thing was for the listener, right? For if they're curious
Hmm.
about getting into Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic or any
Or
card game
really
for that
any
matter.
card
Yeah.
games. Digimon, anything, Pokemon.
Yeah. So I mean,
Don't be beholden to the deck list on the website.
yeah,
You know.
absolutely not. You want the whole point is that you have the freedom to build a deck and customize a deck however you want to, right? I don't know. Again, it could be partially because I've been away from this game for so long, right? Part of it being because I play way more Magic the Gathering and Legends of Runeterra than I do of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? So I
Uh
understand
huh.
those mechanics very, very well. And there are moments when I play this game and it feels a little bit like Dragon Ball Z Fighters. And and where it's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna play one thing and set up a couple traps, and cool, it is your turn now, sir. And then they start like, okay, I'm gonna summon this. Oh, this also
And
has
then they play solitaire.
it's like, yeah, and it's like, okay, then I'm not gonna I play this, and it also special summons this from my hand, and I'm gonna sacrifice both of these to summon this thing. And then now, since this is in the graveyard, I can use this effect to, bounce it back onto the field. Now I'm gonna sacrifice these two things to summon this from my side deck as well. And I'm just like, when do I get to play the game?
When I'm
Because
done.
this is like, it just feels like I didn't even make a mistake, right? I just like, oh no, I've just played the cards that I had available to me and play and defended myself for a proper turn two. And then it's
Right.
like, I can't deal with this turn two anymore. After, like after the three things they've done, I can no longer deal with this turn two. And I just feel like, okay, I'm just gonna surrender. I'm moving along. Just next game. Because there's it feels like there's just too much going on. Like the ramp up in this game is very, very different from like a Legends of Runeterra, even a Hearthstone, right? There's just the ramp up of like, okay, cool, I have a monster out that does 1,800 damage, right? Now it does 4,000. Deal
Uh
with it.
huh.
And I was like, okay, how? Like half my health is gone in turn two.
Right. 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 So I think the big thing about Yu-Gi-Oh versus games like Magic and Hearthstone is that there are no resources available to you, right? So you don't have land, you don't have mana, you don't have energy cards like Pokemon. Your resources are the cards in your hand. And basically whatever you do is indicative of what cards you have available to you without much in the way of restrictions as far as what's on the field is concerned, right? Unless a card says, "Oh, you can't special summon," you can special summon as much as you want. If you can draw another card, there's no limits to abilities that'll let you draw cards unless you have a card like pot of one of the pot of cards where you can't draw any more cards after that, right?
Yeah.
So, Magic limits you. Oh, you can only play one land per turn, right?
Unless
Unless you
you have
have
a
something
card that
that
allows you to
allows
do
you to
so.
do so.
Yeah.
hmm But even then, if you let's say you only have two mana, you're limited by the amount of lands that you have on the field, right?
Yeah, and there's
Eh,
ways to get around that by ramping up using creatures or whatever, right? But like
Mm-hmm.
there's still a ramp up period. In this game, it feels like it goes from 0 to 60 very quickly,
Mm-hmm.
which I am very much so not used to. Again, this could be
Right.
me being an old man thing, right? Just being like, like
Yeah,
the game
probably.
goes too fast and I can't keep up anymore. But it's just like
Yeah.
I'm here with like a semi starter deck, right? With like a customized starter deck, and I don't know what's happening anymore after after I play my first two cards, and I'm
All
just
right.
like overwhelmed,
Yeah.
absolutely overwhelmed.
That's probably a shame on me moment. I probably should have given you a bit more of a crash course, but I can kind of sum up the game like this. If you go first, your goal is to set up as much as you can to make sure that your opponent doesn't play the game, right?
Which I figured out, and you also confirmed for me
hmm
offline. I was like, okay,
If
I figured that out. Cool.
if you're going second, your goal is to destroy as much of your opponent's stuff as possible when it's your turn so that you can do your things. Also, though, you want to have cards that can disrupt your opponent's plays while it's their turn, right? And then once your first two turns are done, it's basically who can pull the card that they need to finish the duel from turns three onward, right? Because in
Yeah.
most cases, this ends turn three, turn four, maybe. It's when most of these games end between
Yeah,
turns 2 and 4.
yeah. I know that's the thing that I really noticed when I started playing the ranked mode more. Again, it was like partially me like every deck feels sweaty because of it. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there's no like people just going out there to have fun and fuck around. Where like occasionally in Magic the Gathering, even like in person, right? Like I like if I went to like a Magic the Gathering night, I'm like, yeah, like you have like an elo attached to your account and your name, right? Half the
Right.
time I'm like, I'm just gonna play my solo green deck, my mono green deck, just because this is the deck that I like. I know it's not meta, but I'm gonna play it because it's the most fun thing that I have to play, and it's surprisingly useful still, right?
Mhm.
Here it feels like no, every person out online is out for blood. And it's like, yo, we're in rookie rank, bro. Calm down. You don't need to go ham.
Right.
And
No, and a lot of that stuff, like especially when you get people that are just starting, you'll get people best Yu-Gi-Oh deck, and then they'll just go by that. I think once you get to honestly, I think once you kind of get to the higher levels, like me, when you're in gold and platinum and diamond, and you're playing the casual modes, like you're gonna find people that are playing random strategies, or like for me, like I love playing tunes, which is a very hit or miss deck in casual match. I like playing like Gaia the Fierce Knight
mm,
decks. They're just fun. But there is a level of skill, and I guess if you want to call it sweatiness, that comes with every deck, because any deck needs to be able to special summon powerful monsters and get a card on the field that has 5,000 attack or
oh
4,000 attack.
yeah, of course, I understand that's the point of the game. But it's just like again, you mentioned that it's like usually between turn 2 to turn 4, that's like most of these games are decided by then, right?
Right.
It is just so fast. That is like the biggest thing for me. I am like again like overwhelmed by just like how fast this game is, which is cool to
Hmm.
some extent, right? Like I like the idea that like, oh, okay, I lost, cool, okay, move along, right? Just play again, just find another person, just play again, and hopefully my deck works out better the next time.
Right.
But it's like the thing is, I feel like with other card games, it's like you feel like a sense of pride, I guess, to some extent, where it's like I'm playing against a deck that I know hard counters my deck, or like my deck can't particularly deal well with their deck, right?
Mm.
Let's okay, so let's just say I'm playing mono green in Magic the Gathering, right? It's just big beefy monsters, and then a bunch of little guys, right? And I just beef all of them up at the same time, and now you have to deal with it. Green doesn't deal well with like artifacts and spells that don't allow me to attack with certain monsters. Like so, if I play like against a blue white control deck, a green deck can have a decent amount of trouble with it. Like
Hmm.
a lot of trouble with it because I don't have things that can, I don't have a lot of cards in green that like remove um limiters on your cards, right? In the way I play green is like, okay, you locked up one of my big monsters, cool. I'm just gonna play another big monster, and hopefully you have to deal with him next, right? That's really it. And
Hmm.
some cards like Shroud or like hexproof. That's that like so it's like okay, you can't target my monsters anymore with spells and stuff, right? There or effects. It's stuff like that like the green usually has as like a defense towards that stuff. But for the most part, it's more just like if I'm playing against like a blue white control deck or a black blue or a black red, where it's just like I'll just destroy target monster or whatever or a creature, whatever. It's like I'm gonna have a bad time. But at least I can try to play it out and see how my deck plays out because it is slower paced, right? I can try to amass an army before I start getting locked down. In
Hmm.
in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like again, like turn two, even if and especially when I have a bad turn one. Like I just don't draw well for my first hand, right? And was there a mulligan option? I didn't see if that was
No.
there's no, okay, yeah. So
No, you get what you get.
yeah, so there's that too. So it's like if you get screwed in your first draw, like there were plenty of times when I'm like, I'm taking 5,000 damage to the face in turn two, and I'm just
Hmm.
like, oh, like in my mind, this one's over. Like, and that's kind of defeatist of me. I tried my best to play stuff out. Right, I was like, maybe turn two. I have some stuff. I have something in here that I know can negate damage. Like I've got something, or like return damage back to sender. I've got something. I know I do. Hopefully, I draw it. Nope. Cool. Okay, game's over. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
I will try to play most games out, but there is like in that starting phase, it's like, okay, I've taken 4,000 damage in turn 2. I'm assuming my chances
It's not over.
I know it's not, but it's like I'm assuming because of like the way, especially when I was still like getting the materials to properly build my deck, it was like I know for sure I don't have anything in here to remove stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this is probably over for me. And like I'd pull a card, cool, surrender. I'm just gonna move along, find another game, go again. And then the more materials I got, the more I was able to get cards to fill out my deck to deal with stuff like that, right? Like just to cancel or negate damage or whatever, or remove creatures from my opponent's side of the board.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to that, like when I was able to fill out my deck a little bit more, yeah, then I would play stuff out more often than not, and like like never give up hope on actually trying to make a comeback. But yeah, it's a very fast game, and
Mm-hmm.
that's again kind of like the issue that I had with when I was playing with my friends were trying to teach me this again a couple of years ago of trying to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh. And I think a bunch of it is like a preference thing, right? Like I not that unicorn, not that Yu-Gi-Oh is not strategic.
Huh.
Absolutely, I'm absolutely not saying that. Yu-Gi-Oh has a lot of strategy going into it, especially because you guys are so heavily focused on the early turns of the game, right? Instead of trying
Mm-hmm.
to end the game as quick as possible. There's a lot going on there. But I think for me, I prefer a deck builder game that is more of a slow burn.
Got it.
That's a preference thing, and
Mm-hmm.
that's me being an old man and playing Magic the Gathering. It's like because there is a bit of like not like not like a paralysis to it. But, again, it's overwhelming. It's just like, man, there's a lot going on, and I feel like I'm getting
Mm-hmm.
shit on every time I play this. Every time I just go into a match, which it was. There was a lot of me getting shut on when I was getting into a match. I will absolutely swear that I'm not good at this game. But again, the more and more that you play, that's the whole point. Or you get better and better. But just this is not my game.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I do like the Dragon Maid deck that I have gotten to, and it feels comfortable enough that I can actually play it and actually win a couple matches. Yeah, I want to say like I think my win record right now in ranked is like probably like a point 5, point 6 or so.
Not terrible,
Not terrible. No, especially for
right? Considering you've never really played the game all that much lately.
at least in this style of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? No
Right.
no beat sticks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not terrible. I remember I lost a bunch of matches early on. Again, I'm playing the ranked mode. I
Right.
forgot what it was called because I know it's free duel and something else.
Yeah, ranked and free. That's it
Yeah,
for
yeah.
now.
So just ranked, and yeah, like I went on a short win streak just because I got lucky off of the draw, first draw of the game, and the other person didn't.
I don't know if that's luck. That means your deck is consistent. If you're drawing well in your opening hands,
Yeah, but I think
right?
yeah, I guess, but it's also like again, I think that there's like a flexibility thing as well, which I enjoy about Magic the Gathering, if that makes sense, right? Like, okay, let's say I get a shitty draw for my first turn, right? But
Mhm.
because the game ramps up much slower, I have the option to try to bail on like an initial play style or some like play speed, and like, okay, I can tank a couple hits early on. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I can get hit like 2 3 times in a row because no one's gonna have anything that's like a 10-10 on the field turn 3.
Mhm.
So it's like I'll take 3 damage the first turn. Next turn, okay, I'll take another 3 damage. That's fine. Next turn, I'll take 8 damage. Cool. I'm still in the game. You know what I mean? Like there are times when I
Mhm.
would lose like out of 20, I would lose like 17 health right off the bat. Like and like just amass an army in like 4 turns. And like, cool, now I can swing back because everything they've been throwing at me has been, weenies. And now I have like an actual beat stick, like, it's that like kind of like turnaround gameplay that I can allow that like I think it's because also the game allows for it. That again that's also coming from me, the low level Yu-Gi-Oh guy,
Right.
who like I don't know how to get to that point of surviving the first couple turns.
It's about playing and getting better at the game. I mean, there are plenty of times where I've had a terrible turn one. I've taken my opponent's best shot at turn two and turned it around immediately just from one or two key plays that weren't negated or I was able to play through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of that too is number one, a lot of that too is knowing what your opponent's playing. so you know the matchups, you know what they want to do, and turning your bad matchups into good matchups. And the other thing, I mean, the only way to get there is to play the game and to know what can possibly be thrown at you, right? Do
Yeah.
you remember any of the game, any of the decks that you were playing against? Did you have a lot of? I kind of figured in the early levels there'd be a lot of like anime decks, a lot of heroes, a lot of Dark Magician, a lot of Blue Eyes, Red
Yes.
Eyes.
There was, I know I wrote down specifically what the deck was, at least if I could figure out what the hell it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um the first so like I have here, I played against three Blue Eyes decks
Okay.
with the other cards, like the crystal version of the Blue Eyes Radiant Dragon or whatever the hell it's called.
Right. Right.
So I played against three of those. Again, like I recognize Blue Eyes, that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
There was another person running a Dragon Maid variant.
Mm-hmm.
Or two people playing Dragon Maid variant. There were four Black Magician or Dark Magician decks, and a lot of which were like bounce them off the field, get him back onto the field whenever he hits the graveyard. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
how am I supposed to deal with this? That was probably the most annoying one for me personally. And then I had I forgot the name of it, but I wrote Robot Boxer thingy.
Battling Boxers.
That one, yeah, because
Oh, that's like a rogue deck, dude.
and
That's like a.
that was just annoying because every time I killed, because he would kill one on purpose to summon something
Mm-hmm.
else, right? And then I think the effect of it was like if it hits the graveyard and then another, like essentially it's kind of like handcuffed to another card, whereas like whenever this card hits the graveyard, bring this one back. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, if I dealt with one, I have to deal with another right off the bat.
Uh-huh.
And it was just really annoying. And I dealt with like
Mm-hmm.
that one. I think I dealt with the most in the low levels.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like again, I'm in rookie. I'm like,
Battling Boxers.
why are the people
What
with
the
these
hell?
decks in rookie? Because like I assume people would be like me, where it's like I pick a card style or an anime style like that, a monster style that I enjoy, and I'm just gonna run with it, and then I'll start playing other stuff later on, right? Like everyone knows Dark Magician, Blue Eyes White Dragon, Red Eyes Black Dragon, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I like waifus, so like I Dragon Maid deck. Like yeah, that's what I assumed was gonna be. I'm gonna see in like the low levels, right? But the fact that I was seeing like I have no idea what the hell this card does, and then like it just became like yes, of course, again, like me learning what it does, but it's like upon my first time seeing it, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna play the game and see how it goes, and then it's like anytime I did something, I felt like I was getting punished for it, even though they hadn't actually played anything. That
I
being
think just kind of from looking at Battling Boxer, like a deck list or two here, I think the reason why you see it at the low levels is because all of the cards are rare or normal rarity.
Mhm.
So it's a very easy free to play sort of deck that you can putz through.
Yeah, a lot of the cards that I look because I look because you can see your opponent's card list, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yes, you can.
so I would look at that and just quick search, and I was like, okay, so I'm assuming that they're playing this because it is like a cheaper deck to play, right? You don't need to spend any money to play to get the cards, to acquire the cards for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was just like it was really annoying. Like it was a lot of people
Uh-huh.
playing that deck, and I was like, I'm not having fun. Like,
Yeah, no.
I mean, I won out of the however many duels that I played against them. I did win a couple, but it was kind of like on my end, it was like luck of the draw, because like I mean, yes, I understand the idea of like your deck being consistent and stable, right? I understand that, but because there's not as much like deck manipulation in this game as well, right? Like in Magic, it's a lot of like play this and I can search for a card, right?
Mhm.
Or like just draw the top three, pick one, then move the rest to the graveyard or bottom of the deck kind of deal. There's a couple of those cards, like I saw those, but they didn't fit into my deck. Like what I mean,
Mhm.
they would have been like I would have been able to have three of them in my deck, and again, like it's like if I have a 60 card deck, it's like okay, hopefully I find one.
Right,
Y-
but that's not your strategy. Your
Yeah,
strategy isn't to do that. Your strategy is to get fusion monsters on the field and set up negates and keep your cards safe by bouncing the extra deck and the main deck monsters, right? Like that's the
yeah.
whole point of Dragon Maid. So
Dragon Maid is like bouncing your creatures off the board so they can be safe for a turn or so. and
Right, and
play them
then
again
you want to
afterwards.
end on the extra deck monsters so you can negate or interrupt your opponent's plays.
Yes, yes, that's basically what I was. That's how the Dragon Maid deck played.
Hmm.
That I so so I bought. Oh, well, I was appreciated. You can just buy 3 of the starter decks or 3 of the
Correct.
pre build decks. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I don't have to like go around having to buy cards right off the bat using
Hmm.
the in game materials. I can just straight up buy 3 of these and I have all the cards that I need.
Correct.
And yeah, like just it worked out. Like again, I feel like for a guy who hasn't played Yu-Gi-Oh in close to 10 years, right? I don't think I had a bad shot at this. I genuinely don't think I did terribly. It's just
Well, good.
it's a pacing thing.
Yeah.
It's a pacing thing and getting my mindset different out of dealing with a resource management mana system in a game and then not having it. You know what I mean? Like I
It-
wrote down a note specifically here saying it. Let me find this specific thing here real quick. I like the prompts of activating effects. The issue is the overload of text on the cards. Again, that was like a communication thing, right? Where if you're playing in person versus playing online.
right, but you're still gonna have to say, "Oh, what does that do?"
Yeah,
Can I see that?
but at least it can be like at least yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But at least it can also be like quickly summarized in like a sentence, right? Again, that's a personal preference thing of playing in person versus playing a game online.
Right.
That's the same thing for Magic the Gathering online as well too. Like it's just like, what does this card do? Okay, hold on, let me see this, and then like luckily because I played the game more, I can see the keyword. I'm like, okay, I know what it does now. So then I need to confirm and then see if there's an effect will be triggered, and then and see if there's a card that I have to have triggered. And I think, and then the line immediately after that was, I think Legends of Runeterra or Magic the Gathering possibly have a better way of handling these things, but they do have a resource management slash mana system in place. So that's why I think, yeah, it slows the game down, but at least it gives even like new players an option to deal with things early on. Like this is absolutely a preference style in terms of card game. Some people like this really faster paced play of game, right? A lot of people do. Clearly because Yu-Gi-Oh is very very popular. Just for me, it's like if I could slow the game down possibly, then I would prefer to do so.
Anything else on the card game itself? Because I do want to just ask how you felt the presentation of Master Duel was, and if there's anything that they did right that you'd love to see in other games, if there's anything that they did wrong that other games do better. I'm curious how you felt about that, and I
Yes.
think
Okay.
we'll
So gameplay first. Let me see. Oh yeah, here. So here's a more I think a more directly worded version from me here, other than me trying to remember what I said on the fly. I wish there was more in terms of threatening or bluffing in this game. I understand that having like trap cards and magic and spell cards out on the field face down is your threat, right? But I think especially in the low levels, people are willing to just take that chance a lot of times,
right.
right?
Hmm. But
Versus
that's
like
a shame on them moment where you have to
if
punish them.
yeah, if but again, unfortunately, it's like I didn't have anything actually to do so. I was more for
Right.
me. I had like the Dragon Maid like the cleaning or the send off card where where it's like okay, well I can use it to like move a card out of my hand and summon another monster out onto the field, right? But it's like I was hoping that was gonna be a threat because like in Magic the Gathering or Legends of Runeterra is leaving mana on the board, right? Is like that's your threat, and having a card in hand,
Right.
that's your threat. And it's like okay, well I see they have 3 cards still in hand, and they have 4 mana still available to play, right?
Hmm.
So maybe I don't swing this turn. Maybe I take an extra prep turn, or wait until I have a card in my hand to deal with, just in case they have something waiting for me, right?
Hmm.
And it's yeah, and serious is I think that they do that with spell and trap cards. Okay, so I acknowledged it, but it seems like there is a lot of early game of aggression in low level play, and now
Right.
we've
Well, there's a
confirmed
lot of
that
early game aggression
in
in
general,
all levels of play
which
because
now we've confirmed. Now I've confirmed because
mhm.
you actually told me.
The other thing too is it is menacing to have a card in your hand because that could be a hand trap that could negate a key play that you need. That could be a Nibiru, the primal being, which if you've special summoned an entire board of monsters, I drop the rock on you, and
Yeah,
now you have 11,000 attack token that's in defense mode that you can't do anything with. The other thing that's oppressive and threatening are my full board of boss monsters, because I played through your hand trap. So I have my super powerful synchro. I have I have Baron de Fleur on the field, which negates one thing and can destroy a card during my turn. I have and just thinking of my Dino deck, I have
Mhm.
Ultimate Conductor Tyranno on the field, which can turn all of your monsters face down. I have DPE, which can destroy one of your key combo pieces. I have a bazillion other monsters that can negate your effects. That's what the threatening aura, right? The threatening aura, menacing
Go,
aura
go, 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 go.
is in this game. It's your full board of boss monsters, and it's your just looking at your opponent, and it's like, all right, figure it out.
Yeah, which again, like I thought I would have gotten to that point, especially because I played green in Magic the Gathering,
Right.
right? It's like, oh, here's an army, deal with it, right? But on the receiving end of it, it feels like I'm way more limited because of the fact that I don't have like the ability to threaten like that. That being said,
Yeah.
I have had a couple games where it's just like Raigeki, I was just drawing like, oh, thank God, oh, my friend, please, thank my
Uh
old my
huh.
old friend, thank you for showing up in the time in my moment of need.
And
And
that's why you play those cards.
yeah, yeah. There's a couple times when like I would get lucky and just like find a monster reborn, and I was like, oh yeah, cool. I can summon one of my dragon maid. Wait a second, I wiped a blue eyes off your deck, off your board, right? Oh sweet, that's coming on my side, and I'm
Right.
gonna special summon a dragon maid back from my graveyard.
Uh huh. It also kind of sounds like Dragon Maids and your play style don't necessarily, maybe aren't perfect for each other.
Yes, but waifus, Jeff.
I know. I was gonna say. I think you really like them, and I think they really like you. But there's just something functional about the way you two interact that
Yeah.
might not be the deck for you.
Oh no,
But
absolutely. I definitely thought that when I was like, this is not my type of deck because there's a lot of graveyard manipulation.
right,
And again, I like, I initially thought I was gonna go for like the super heavy samurai route, right? That's what I was initially gonna go for because they're just big beefy monsters that just like
right,
cool, deal with it, right? Just I'm in defense mode and I can I can flip my defense to my attack and you know make them even bigger because of it. Deal with it, which I think is again much more my play style. Just unga bunga, big boys go boom, right? That's
ooh, I have a deck for you, my friend, and I
okay.
think it's the same exact deck that I play,
Is it
because
okay?
that's why I play dinos, because
Mm.
I have big bodies on the field and I can control the field, and I at the end of the turn I still have a 3500 attack monster that can flip everything face down.
It might be like a play style thing, right? But I can't. They're so cute, Jeff. Damn it, Jeff. They're so
I know,
cute.
I own them. I own a Dragon Mates, because shame on me, I built Blue Eyes as my first deck. And
Mm.
here's the little spoiler alert for you and anybody else listening that wants to get into this. All the anime decks from your youth suck in this game. Dark Magician
I
sucks.
realize that. Yeah,
Mhm.
I know
Dark
that.
Magician sucks. Blue Eyes sucks. Red Eyes sucks. They all suck.
Yeah, because once I realized how to actually properly play my deck,
Hmm.
I stopped losing to those decks.
Especially Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes bricks so hard, and you're basically screwed if you can't
A
get a
lot of
key
a
combo
lot of
piece.
people in ranked, as soon as I remove one blue eyes off the table, they would just leave.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because
I think because I was confused on why, but then again, once I did it a couple more times, it was like, oh, they need this to be out here for the deck to even function, right?
right. Because basically the Blue Eyes is the catalyst for the synchro monsters, for the fusion monsters, for the any sort of Xyz and boss monsters. Basically, you don't want the actual Blue Eyes White Dragon on the field. You want a Blue Eyes monster on the field, but you don't want the actual Blue Eyes White Dragon on the field, because it's just a big vanilla pasty unprotected weenie, basically. Like, oh, it has 3000 attack. Every card in the game has 3000 attack, dude. Like, that's not special anymore. The problem is, what else can you do with your big body, right?
Yeah,
And if the
yeah,
only thing you can do is swing for 3000, I have a million cards that can stop you from swinging, right?
yeah.
So that's kind of the issue with Blue Eyes, is that any sort of archetype built around a big giant vanilla monster isn't going to be successful in today's day and age, right?
That being
It's
said,
just
I did
not.
have more trouble against Dark Magician decks because I think Dark Magician, from what it seemed like, again, this from a
Well, they get a fuck ton of support. That's why.
that yeah. So like there's a lot more options in terms of like, okay, I lose a Dark Magician, that's cool. I'm gonna bring another one out, like a different variant of Dark Magician
Right.
that like
They have like.
allows me to
Hmm.
link like again like kind of like soul link into another one, right? It's like, okay, I lose this one, cool. I'm bouncing the Dark Magician you removed a second ago back into my table.
Uh-huh. And
And
but basically, once you realize all you got to do is destroy that trap card, you're good.
yeah. Again, it was an issue of early on when I didn't have the proper
The
cards
trap
to
removal,
deal with
right?
it. Yeah, because
And
again,
but then you learn the matchup, and then it's easy.
yeah. So like because again, early on, all I had was the Dragon Maid deck. I didn't really have
Right.
anything specifically for it. And then when I started understanding the need to really stop the magic or trap cards that facilitate decks to function, um, because that's one thing I did like about Dragon Maid is like I can there's like one continuous trap card that was like useful for me to like manipulate the Dragon Maids that I have currently on the board, but it didn't need to be there. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't handcuffed to this one card to play my deck. Other
Well,
people,
that's good.
if other people who play a different deck again, like a Blue Wise or a Dark
Like
Magician
Toon
deck.
World.
Yeah, like our Toon World. Yeah, like where your hand, you have to have this card out. Okay, it's
Uh huh.
gone. Well, I've basically lost two
Well,
turns.
I'm screwed.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
lost two turns to hopefully find another one, and then if not, I'm dead turn three from that
Hmm.
point on. But yeah, like again, like it's a play. It could be a playstyle thing. It's learning. A lot of it is learning the matchup, and I started getting to that point. I think in another timeline, another multiverse, there is a Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Lakan out there. That being said, again, I don't hate this game. I absolutely don't. It was actually really nice to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially just that I have a basic understanding of stuff. Now that I actually understand what XYZ synchro summoning is,
Right.
pendulum summoning is a little confusing for me. It feels
That's okay. It sucks anyway.
Yeah, it feels strong during the tutorial because it's obviously you're playing a very nitpicked,
Right.
scenario. Link, I still don't understand links like with the little arrows thing. Uh,
No, you're overthinking everything. You're overthinking so much.
it just feels like, okay, when do I want these things to link? Because I know there's some cards that benefit from linking two monsters together and all this other stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. I just want big beefy monsters out on the field and hit stuff.
And
Uh,
there's a lot of archetypes that do that.
yeah,
That just you don't even have to worry about links and synchros and XEs. I mean, you
yeah,
could
like
play. There's a lot of fusion archetypes that
literally
can do
all I
that.
had was a few. Again, that's why I stuck mostly to the fusion dragon deck, and I also
Mhm.
splashed like one of the variant red eyes onto my deck because it can easily summon from dragons. I was like, okay,
Yeah. Oh,
cool.
yeah. No, and that's something else that you'll learn too. Is like there are cards like Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, which is the one that I'm pretty sure that you're using, right?
Yep.
Is you can splash it in, and the nice thing is too, you can use that in any of your decks now. So you have these staples, and you can mix it into anything.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I realized, oh, it just needs like high level dragons to play stuff. Oh, I'm like, oh, like half my deck is
My,
high
I was
level
gonna say, yeah,
dragons. Cool.
your whole deck is high level dragons.
Yeah, so it worked. It ended up working out for me in the long run, and just yeah, just stuff like that can splash in, and I and I realized it can do so, and I felt I had that like it was a small one, but it was a moment where it clicked, and I was like, oh, I can do this. Okay, cool. I can actually play this game and not be terrible at this.
Hmm.
I think yeah, like I absolutely can keep this game in like my back pocket. And, if you ever want to play a couple and just beat up my waifus, you're absolutely welcome to play with me. But
No, I think we're gonna play some games. We're gonna put it on the YouTube channel here.
yeah.
But I don't think, like I said, kind of like how we play fighting games. I'll start with the weenies, and I'll just let you see what diamond and platinum looks like
hmm
at the end.
Yeah, which again, like, because the way, especially with the way that I play a lot of games in general, it's like I like being decent at them, right? I like having a low to mid level understanding of the game and playing within my comfort zone there. I don't need to be the best at anything that I do. I like being decent.
Right,
Uh,
you just want to be competitive and not be completely
yeah, I'm not gonna be completely sweat lord and
shot.
devote my
Yeah.
entire life into a game or whatever. And there's a couple of those things that I do that in, but like for most games, I like having fun. That's the biggest thing. I have gotten over my ranked anxiety over the last like 6 to 8 months. There has been a ranked burnout for me because of the years that I've played League of Legends and Rainbow Six Siege and Valorant, or not Valorant, Counter Strike. Where it's like I don't want to play ranked anymore ever again because it just scares me. And like I was burnt out from it, but now like I got over it recently, so I was like, okay, cool, next one, go, next one, go, next one, go, and I've finally been able to like play games that I know that I'm not good at, but like not been like hurt every time I lose something. Which
Oh no, I know what you mean.
yeah,
For
so
sure. Like no, it's something that affects everybody, I think, right? You play these ranked games, you play competitive games. It's tough after a while, you know. Doom queuing, right? You
yeah,
just
yeah, exactly. Doom queuing.
you just
Yeah.
queue and you're miserable and you hate it, but it's the only thing that makes you happy in the moment, even though it's not going to provide you any happiness whether you win or lose. It's tough. It sucks, but
Yeah, it's like I mean, like for me, it's because like when I win, the excitement is very, very high, but the everlasting dread of like losing a match, or like losing ranking, right, it would just be way, way higher than that. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. So I just became like a casual player for a lot of games that I played. Because I got over it, uh, finally, after like I don't know, like a full on year of doing so.
hmm,
Um, now I'm back to like I'm back to being able to enjoy games again, which I'm very, very happy about.
well, good.
Yeah. Also, you had a question for me after I explained the last little bit of my opinions in terms of like my play experience, right?
Right. No, it was just to see kind of what you thought of Master Duel as an actual client for Yu-Gi-Oh! And if there were things that you liked about it and things that you would like to see other card games emulate or things that you didn't like about it. As far as so for me, the big thing coming from Duel Links to Master Duel was the ability to craft cards using the materials, right?
Hmm.
Being able to dismantle cards and recreate cards that I actually want, I thought was awesome and really helps with the cost, right? That comes with card games. I'm curious what you kind of thought about Master Duel as a client for a card game, and if there was anything that you'd like to see other card games emulate from this, and vice versa. Anything that Yu-Gi-Oh could use to better itself from like a Legends of Runeterra or something like that.
Okay. Um, Without giving me everything in one shot, what do you think of this game as an analog to Yu-Gi-Oh, the game itself?
Like I said, I think it's fun. I
Like,
think it's pretty well done.
is it a 1-to-1, or is it like a 0.8 to 1?
No,
That's what I'm saying. Like, how close is it to actually playing the game? Like, right, like traditionally.
so like actually playing the game, it's like a point 0.8 because real Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have activation blips, right? It doesn't have
Yes,
the
yes.
pauses where it goes to your opponent, right?
Hmm.
But I think as far as like playing the game, it's pretty similar.
Okay.
I will tell you that the meta game is completely different because the ban lists are different.
Yeah,
So,
I've heard that from one of my friends when I
mhm.
mentioned that I was playing Master Duel for this episode. They said, "Oh, you're playing online." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just trying to learn the game because of an episode, and also because I'm trying to actually understand this game now, or at least take a peek into what the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh is to some extent." Um,
No, yeah, like it's kind of its own beast, but I think as far as a game that is faithful to the card game, I think it does a pretty good job.
that's what my suspicion was. I didn't actually ask my friend the question I just asked you. In terms of my experience overall playing Yu-Gi-Oh, specifically Master Duel, because I didn't dip my toes into Duel Links or playing the traditional card game itself at all from this. I focus specifically on Master Duel.
And
The
that's
act,
fine because that's what the episode was
yes,
about.
yes.
So,
But the activation blips and stuff like that, that felt I I liked those
mhm.
kinda, because
Okay.
as you said before, there's like, there's like a I play something and then the opponent has an option to retort, right?
Mhm.
The activation blip shows that it's there, but it's still again, still me learning the game and learning what my cards actually do. Is me dependent on me learning, nope, I ignore that activation blip until I see specific action happening, right?
Correct.
Early on is like this guy did something. You want to use this card? And it's like, yes, absolutely.
Of
Anything,
course.
anything to stop them from playing anything, right? Because I'm getting overwhelmed right off the bat. So
Hmm.
like there was a lot of me having to stop that right off the bat. But again, I think like if there was a kind of Magic the Gathering Arena does it, and Legend of Runeterra does it, where it's like opponent has played this card. Would you is more just like would you like to do something in return? It's a little more open ended instead of doing the activation blips. That being said, when it highlights the card, it is useful to remind me that I have something.
Correct.
I do like that. It is more just me actually knowing what the hell my cards do. The tutorial system just needs to be cleaned up. There's a lot going on during during this like the solo trial system. I wish they were I would just wish they were more focused, right? Like I understand it's more free flowing because it wants you to actually play it and try to understand it yourself, right? But I think if there was like a better explanation, I don't know if it's like I don't know how to make it better per se, right? But something to make it more clarified, more streamlined, where it doesn't feel like I'm just reading like a handbook on how to play the game could be better for the game overall, especially for onboarding new players into the game.
Hmm.
And I'm not talking about like the summons, special summons. That's relatively easy to understand. It's the it's the other summons that like throw me off. And again, I'm a guy who plays card games. I understand that there is mechanics in at play to do this stuff, but it's like when it starts like saying, okay, so when this card happens, this triggers this card, and this card allows you to do this and this and this. Okay, you got that? Cool. Now do it. Like after it's walked you through it once, like okay, now play out the rest of this game and figure it out. And it's like if I would rather have it just walk my hand, hold my hand and walk me through it twice, than having to like do it once and then like go off to do it by myself because then I immediately forget what I was actually trying to do. Again, that's a personal thing. I think some people would like a more focused, more stripped down version of the solo missions, right? It's gonna be a personal preference for a lot of people, but I think have something more focused and much shorter, especially to do so.
Yeah,
I
it
think is
it is a
better.
bit of a beast.
Like, because again, like Magic the Gathering Magic the Gathering Arena has the same issue, where it's like, luckily I already know how to play the game, so I didn't have to really do it. I'm just doing the missions for the materials and the extra decks,
Hmm.
right?
And that was kind of my issue when you were talking to me about your grief with this, right? Is I didn't do it because I didn't need to do it because I knew everything. But had I would have probably been able to help you understand all of that a bit easier.
Yeah, and I think you also understand that, like, yeah, again, if you're and not a new player, I'm a long time returning player, right?
Hmm. Correct.
So I understand the basis of the game. If somebody new wanted to get into Yu-Gi-Oh without having somebody to like rely on as like a support system, I can see a lot of people bouncing off this game. Like I can see a lot, but it may be the case. It may not be. I don't know the player count is, and I don't know what the turnover rate is for new players to actually continue playing. Right?
Let's find out.
Yeah. Let's take a look. Actually, let's see. I don't even know how to word that. New players coming into Yu-Gi-Oh, I guess.
Or just I was gonna just look at Steam charts and just see how it's doing.
Yeah, let's do that. And I'm gonna look on like I'm gonna look up like a Reddit to see. Let's see what it says here.
Okay, so on this Sunday evening, there are 15,000 people playing it. I mean, it's been decreasing pretty steadily since it launched back in January, but I mean, we're still talking 5 digits. I mean, it's still one of the highest, and that's only on PC.
Yeah, because like what happened Friday, September 30th? There's clearly a spike there.
Probably a new pack released.
Okay, so the way I'm looking, let me see here. Let's zoom it out. Can I zoom it out to lifetime? Like, here we go, perfect. Lifetime concurrent. Oh, that's cool. It also has Steam viewership as well too. That's cool. Okay, so when did this game come out?
January of this year.
Okay, so that's why it's very very high in the beginning of this year.
Hmm.
So players 260,000, right?
Hmm.
263 if we're gonna round up. And then there's a steady decline, which is I think understandable, right? Because card games are niche, right?
Right.
Especially with like in general in terms of player base, and especially in terms of viewership, right? and then yeah, like about 9 months in, it looks like, yeah, this is where like the core player base is going to be, right? Maybe even closer to like June of this year is gonna be like
Yeah, I would say.
yeah,
Hmm.
like let's say that's probably gonna be where it's gonna be around. It follows very much the same uh life cycle, I think, as like a fighting game, right? As early on, there's a lot of buzz, people will jump into it and try it out, and then the casual, the filthy, disgusting casuals get weeded out, and uh and the core player base stays in, right? Because some people are like, oh, the hype around Yu-Gi-Oh, apparently Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh still a thing, okay, might as well check it out and see how different it is, right? And then continue on from that, and some people are going to bounce off of it. My thing that I was looking for, I guess, when I pulled this up, was if there was like a recent pack, if there was like a spike in players that actually raised the overall player count. You know what I mean? Like the average player count.
Right, right.
And I don't see that except for maybe in July.
Yeah, I
Uh
mean, I think if you look at the couple of these spikes here, so like July 10th, August 8th, September 10th, September 21st, I think. Oh no, you know what? I think September 9th and 10th was an event maybe.
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But I mean, I think it's doing fine.
Yeah, it's
You
doing.
know what I mean?
I'm not saying it's doing terribly as a game. I'm just like wondering what the what the people coming in and actually staying for it are. That's what my thing is. Steam Game Hub followers chart for that. It's climbing. The game is climbing in terms of followers.
All right. Well,
That's good. That's the important
that's a
thing.
positive.
Because 45,000, and let's see here, players. Yeah, it follows a trend. So it's like, okay, so people may be like playing it but not playing it as consistently, right?
Right.
In terms of player count, but the people following the game, actively following the game, keeps going up, which that means people are actually staying in the loop because of this game, or possible that could
And that's
possibly
all
be.
you want
Yeah,
because
that's all
you
you want.
want people to not just play this, but you want them to play the physical card game. You want them
Yes.
to play Duel Links. You want them to play Cross Duel, any other Yu-Gi-Oh branded material.
Yeah.
You want them invested in.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah. I think as in an onboarding process, do you think this is the best way to get into Yu-Gi-Oh? Aside from the actual card game?
I do because I think it's the least expensive.
Mm.
And I think for anybody other than like if you want to play Yu-Gi-Oh Next Dueling Nexus, which is like an unaffiliated um simulator basically, right?
Yeah,
Think
yeah.
like Pokemon Showdown but for Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
I think outside of that, if you want something official, I think this is the best way to get into the game because it has the lowest cost of entry. Because think about if you want to play the physical card game, right? You have to buy cards, you have to get a deck, you have to get staples, and then if you don't want to look like a weenie, oh, you got to get a mat, you have to get a deck box, you have to get there's a lot of things that you need to think about getting beforehand. And then if you want to play something like Rush Duel or Speed Duel, I'm sorry, not Rush Duel, Speed Duel, are you going to have anybody to play with? Because are people playing Speed Duel?
Mm,
Well,
mm.
and then you just spent $60 on the Speed Duel starter pack or whatever it is, and now you have nobody to play with. Or you spend that money on Yu-Gi-Oh cards to start playing, and then then nobody in your area plays Yu-Gi-Oh. They just sit around and collect Pokemon cards, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you want a booming community of people and you don't want to spend a lot of money, I think Master Duel is the way to go. But I obviously it's not perfect, and obviously there are a lot of things just with Yu-Gi-Oh as far as everything's available to you. So like with Magic, you have limited, right? You do have your legacy
Yeah, you
and you have
have
your different
you have
formats.
standard, legacy, commander, like
Hmm.
that's very big right now at the moment.
With Yu-Gi-Oh, you just have the game.
Yeah.
So if you just started playing and you have sort of an idea of the cards that are relevant now, and somebody drops a deck on you that you've never seen in your life, it could be a little frustrating, right?
Hmm.
But comes down to get good. But at the same
Yeah.
time, like I think that by and large, think this is probably the best official way to play the game.
I can very much so see that. And I think that again, as a refresher for a guy like me who again hasn't played Yu-Gi-Oh in a while, but I did play Yu-Gi-Oh, right? I think that with a little bit of cleaning up the not the tutorial. The tutorial is fine because that's very simple. It's like here's how to summon a monster, here's how to set a monster, here's how to play a trap card. You know, like that's very straightforward, right? The solo missions, I think, are the things that need to be cleaned up a little bit because it is going yes, it is going to more advanced topics, but I think the more it allow I think if it was like a more focused repetition thing, it'd be better off overall, in my opinion. Instead of having like one one time where it holds your hand and then it just lets the leash go. It's like, okay, win this duel now. Something a little bit more focused, I think, would be better off for it. I wanna let's see, like ranked free play. Yeah, that's good. You know, it's like okay, free play. You don't have any fear of losing anything, right? You just play. You're testing your decks out in there
Right.
and,
Yep.
and
Free play
such.
is just about trying out your deck or playing, like I said, playing fun sort of decks that you wouldn't play on the ladder.
Hmm.
So, like for me, that's where I play tunes. That's where I play heroes. That's where I play, B troopers, all these other random decks that I'd never play on the ladder, but I still have them because they're fun. And same thing with dual rooms, but I haven't had the opportunity to play dual rooms
Yeah,
a lot yet.
I get you. The things that I think that it does well, like the free card system, right, or the material system, right, is very very
Yeah.
fast. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so uh Legends of Runeterra does the same thing, and they've been doing the same thing because Legends of Runeterra came out a couple years ago, right? So they do the same thing, which is like very very easy to get materials, and you don't have to spend a single cent playing that game, which I really really like applauded Legends of Runeterra for doing, right?
Hmm.
Because it's so Legends of Runeterra is from Riot, League of Legends, right? Owned by Tencent, and they love microtransactions. They love
Uh
people
huh.
spending money on their games, right? Because they're doing the free to play system, right? You can spend money in there to buy, currency and such, right? But you get a good amount of materials just from playing the game and from breaking down your cards and gaining more stuff. Like the system in Yu-Gi-Oh is very very similar. So I don't know if maybe they took inspiration from the one in Legend of Runeterra. I don't know if they've done it in previous games or not. Previous Yu-Gi-Oh games, I mean, sorry, specifically.
No, so it's funny. Well, I think actually it's closest to Legacy of the Duelist, which is like a traditional single player esque kind of think like a traditional Yu-Gi-Oh video game from like the past.
Okay.
Because Duel Links, the other free to play game, right,
Hmm.
doesn't have any of this, and it is the ultimate like pay to get anything kind of deck or kind of game for your deck.
Okay.
So I think this was a breath of fresh air, and when it came out and it had the crafting system, people were kind of looking at it and it's like, you need to bring this to dueling because
Mm.
this is the way to go. But I don't think they ever will because that's how Duel Links makes money to stay around. Is
Yeah. Because they got to make their money. They
yeah,
got
they got to make the money.
yeah, get their money. It could have been from another game within the Yu-Gi-Oh title, or the
I'm pretty sure. I don't really know for certain, but
yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
so.
again, I get again. You could also I could also argue the fact that they might have seen not the success of Legends of Runeterra because there is not as much of a player base playing that game. Unfortunately, I think Legends of Runeterra is a very good game, but I think like the most like notable thing from that game is the fact for a lot of people anyway, for a lot of people within the trading card game community, is the fact that you can play that game for free, just straight up
Hmm.
free, and because of the sheer amount of like, I just want to build this card. Okay, here you go. You can just do so. I can't confirm it myself or not, but I would like to think that they might have gotten the idea to do so, or at least gotten the inspiration to do so from Legends of Runeterra. Magic the Gathering as well, I think felt like it took a pretty hard turn around the same time as well. I want to say, again, it's been a while since I played Arena at this point, but they also have the crafting system in play as well, with a decent
Hmm.
amount of materials coming in, especially if you play the like the solo missions, where you can just get a good amount of materials and cards, and then just craft whatever specifically you need. But I think I remember correctly, it required more materials. Like in this game, I was able to like buy a bunch of like booster packs that I don't care about and just break them down for materials. You know, like
Hmm.
because of the sheer amount of gems that I had, right? This game's throwing gems at you almost like a gotcha game, right?
Yeah, for real.
And it's like, okay, cool. Well, guess what? I don't play any other decks, so all I need is like the 5,000 you've given me, and the extra two or 3,000 you've given me from me doing the tutorial missions. Like I now have all of the ultra rare, super rare, materials that I needed just from buying like 3 starter decks, or yeah, 3 of the pre-made decks, and then buying like, I don't know, like like 10 or 20 packs extra, and just breaking down what I don't need, and just crafting specifically the cards that I do need. Like it did a very good job of like allowing me to do so without
Oh yeah.
having to spend any money. It just required me like, okay, how much do I need to throw away of the gems they've given me to to hopefully craft enough materials so I can build what I do need. And
That is one of the things that I really appreciated about this. I just wish I built a better deck first.
early on, yeah,
I wish I didn't build Blue Eyes first. I wish I just built Dinos first, or built Thunder Dragons first,
hmm
and then maybe built Blue Eyes, I guess, later. I don't really know.
yeah.
But
Like it's a personal favorite of a deck, right? So you want
it
to have it,
is.
like you want to have it.
But it sucks.
Yeah. I mean, like for me, I want to say like, that's the thing. Another thing for me too is like, I don't have a strong attachment to Yu-Gi-Oh anymore, right?
Right.
Like it was very much so like a phase in my childhood that I don't really look back on too much. But I would like to see if I can build relatively like usable, like a decent deck around Dark Magician, which I'm sure there is a way to do so.
Oh yeah, you totally can. I mean, everybody plays it. Everybody and their
Yeah,
mother plays Dark Magician, so you
yeah.
can totally do it.
That
It's
that
just,
that.
number one, you're gonna run into so many people that have run into so many Dark Magician decks that they're gonna know the matchup, and it's gonna be difficult to get around them unless you're doing something different. So, which one of the ways people have been getting around that lately is playing Despia, which is one of the new powerful archetypes, with Dark Magician, and you'll see that that's a strong sort of duo there. But if you're just playing plain old Dark Magician, like everybody and their mothers played against Dark Magician, they're gonna know how to get around it,
Yeah.
and so you might find yourself in a difficult situation.
hmm Yeah. Like that's the only real card that I hold any, I guess, emotional attachment to from my
Right.
childhood. That's really about it.
You and everybody else that isn't a Blue Eyes or Red Eyes fan.
Yeah.
So don't
Yeah.
worry about it. Like, you're not alone.
And I like some of the cheese decks, right? Like getting the Exodia deck, right? I don't
Oh,
know.
you like Solitaire? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like, it's like I'll just basically just deal with a bunch of punishment and just like, it's not that I like enjoy that specific play style, but I like winning in dumb ways occasionally. Not like an all the time thing, right? It's like playing a mill deck in Magic
Mm-hmm.
the Gathering, where it's like, oh, just throw your cards into the graveyard, right? And you make somebody draw themselves to death, basically, right?
Right.
It's like it's not fun for me to do that on a regular basis. I feel like an asshole. But
But you
occasionally,
win.
not all the time, but occasionally, I feel like being a dick.
Right.
So I do.
Mm-hmm. Preach.
And I guess the last thing that I want to really get my thoughts out on here specifically is I'm gonna allude to something that I mentioned in our first episode of our podcast, which was Slay the Spire, right? Where
Go on.
in Slay the Spire, it is incentivized for you to break the game, right, to some extent, by building a deck that breaks the game and does so, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine because you're playing against a CPU. In this game, you want to do the same thing, right? Because you're playing against but you're playing against another person. So they're actively trying to do the same thing to you, which doesn't feel good if you're on the receiving end of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, you can attribute you can toss it up to like, well, then make sure your deck does it better and does it first.
Right.
Yes,
Pretty much.
that's true. Absolutely. But it's, again, it's like, it's that, it's that, like, is that, and yeah, the game's about winning. That's the whole point, right? But
Uh-huh.
it's like, there's just that bit of me that is like, that makes me bounce off of games, especially like, again, especially early on, right? Especially in the low levels when I assume everyone else is trying to learn. I feel like it's like it's because everyone's trying just to win. I feel like, again, this could also just be the way I learn games. It's like I have no problem with losing. I have an issue with losing in a way that I can't stop, especially early on, because I don't actually get to learn the game.
I get it. I dig it.
Does that make sense? So without me just being like a sounding like a baby,
No, 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 no.
it's
Like
like
I think it makes sense. It's
like
that
I understand that people are trying to win. Yes, they're learning how to win, but they're not learning how to deal with a bad situation, in my opinion. And especially in a game, especially in a card game that can get very, very deep, right? I'm not talking about just Yu-Gi-Oh, Master Duel, any card game that requires any, you know, any little inkling of strategy, right? You have to learn how to be on the back foot as well, which I think that the especially in the low ranks, people will just leave if you just, you deal with one thing and they don't want to play anymore. So that's like one of those things that I've really noticed, especially going back to playing like an online card game for the first time in quite a while. Yeah, the first time in like 2 years or so. I've been off
mhm.
Magic the Gathering Arena, and I've been off Legends of Runeterra. I dropped Hearthstone a while ago, like, I don't know, maybe like 2 years ago as well, 3 years ago maybe. But yeah, like there's and this is also, again, this is because I'm in the learning phase. I'm new.
Mhm.
I'm essentially new at this game again. I don't know if that hurts the player base or helps the player base, and the fact that I think a lot of people will try this game out and bounce off of it if they're not like, if they don't have it in their mind, like, no, I want to learn Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
Right. I mean, think
I
about
think a lot of
any
people
game.
away.
Think about any competitive multiplayer game. I mean, people complain and cry about it all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's no difference here between any of your favorite free to play battle royale shooters, any of your, MMOs, anything. You're going to run into people that are going to get frustrated and quit. And then you're going to find those that are going to want to get better. And like I said, I think the game's in a healthy spot. This I think Master Duel has done its part to help a resurgence in the card game, and
oh
I
yeah, oh
think the
yeah,
people that are
I
going to
can see
stick
that.
around are going to do so whether they lose or not. And a lot of it too is like, yeah, one thing happens and they scoop, right? But if you know you're doomed anyway, why not just get on to your next game?
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah, I think that whole like learning how to play a game out thing can absolutely benefit more in the higher levels, right? Where the game's never over until it's actually over.
Right, and you'll actually know how to get out of those situations once you've played a little bit.
Yeah,
But there are always situations where if this gets negated, I'm doomed.
yeah,
And it gets negated and it's like, well, shit. All right,
yeah,
I'm done.
yeah. I think there's a lot of that. Again, that's an issue with any card game, not just Yu-Gi-Oh, right? But
Mhm.
early on, it's the balance of frustration and progress, basically. Again, we saw that the player base, or at least the following of this game is constantly increasing, which is, good for the health of the game, and especially, as you said, this resurgence of Yu-Gi-Oh fandom, and people coming into the player base now, which is good. It's just that,
Yeah, it's exciting and
yeah,
it's cool to
it's a good time.
see everything kind of work out and have this renaissance. I think, especially for a lot of like the older players and like longtime players, have really appreciated all the new blood and people coming into the game. So I'm happy. I'm having a good time, and I hope you did, and I hope anybody that wants to try this out does as well. Don't be scared. I think of the daunting presence. It's going to suck at first, but eventually you're going to you're going to know what things do when you see them, and you're going to know what you have available to you in your tool belt to stop them. So just stick with it. Like you're gonna take your bumps at first, but that's the way it is in any fight, any game, not just card games, fighting games, shooters, etc. Just stick with it. If you want to get better, you will, and eventually you'll know what your cards do at some point where you can put up a fight for sure.
So, final verdict from me: I didn't hate it.
Well,
I
that's good.
don't think this. I don't think this is gonna be one of my regular games, but I do think that I will be coming back to this every once in a while because I did enjoy enough of my time to like very lightly dip my toe back into Yu-Gi-Oh.
I think we're also going to have some more fun too once we actually get to play each other, and you can actually like understand what the hell's going on. And I think having someone else with you to go on that journey is going to make things a lot more fun than if you, like for me, just kind of going on it alone. But I enjoy it so much that I don't mind doing it all alone.
Yeah, I think for me it's just because like Magic the Gathering is my game. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I
Mm-hmm.
click way more personally with Magic the Gathering than I do with Yu-Gi-Oh.
Sure, fucking boomer.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm an old man and I have voltage. Uh, well, there's actually I have one last question then actually before after since I've given
Hmm.
given my verdict here. Yeah, again, I like I think the game's okay. I didn't hate it. I dare to say I had a decent I had a good time with this game.
Right.
It is just this is just not my tempo of card game personally. I still have my preference is still to Yu-Gi-Oh, and again, as much of a meme it might be, Legends of Runeterra is
You mean
are
Magic the Gathering, not Yu-Gi-Oh?
yeah, over Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. My last question, I guess, specifically for you is because I probably should have brought this up earlier. Is there like a boomer contingency in this game where there's like boomer community in this game where it's like, oh no, this game was better back when it was only this and not too much stuff is happening.
I would say that those people don't actively play. I don't think anybody actively playing is like, man, I really miss when it took me 30 minutes to play a game,
Okay.
to
Yeah.
play a single game, because everything is just, I'm setting Giant Soldier of Stone in defense mode and passing turn. I don't think anybody's clamoring for that that's playing the game these days, but I think you'll get some people that are like, oh, well, Link Monsters ruined it, or oh, Pendulum's ruined it,
Mm.
or XZ's ruined it, or Synchro ruined it.
Because
But
actually
yeah,
I have one more question. I have one more thing to touch upon then I guess then. Because in Magic the Gathering there has been a very large resurgence of players again because of a game type called Commander.
hmm,
I don't know if you might have heard the name before. You don't know specifically how the game plays or
I
so.
know a little bit about it just because some of the Yugi tubers I like have sort of gotten together with a Magic tuber, and they've been talking about sort of what they put a name to basically what I used to do with friends, right? Playing Magic, or what we used to do,
Hmm.
where we played multiple person games, right?
Yeah.
So 4-player games, or 3-player games, or whatever, right? I know Commander's a little different than just having a multi-person match, right? And I know that's like the Highlander format, right, where there can only be one.
Yeah. So th- and I it's funny because I thought initially with Commander there would be like a large swath of the older player base who would be like, "Oh no, this game is dumb." Like this is a new mode or not new, but like it's another mode that like because I don't know if I don't know the actual word. I should probably look this up myself, but it's a game mode that like requires more strategy and all this other stuff because you're only allowed to have one of each card, right? Unless the card specifically says so. Um,
In Commander, you're talking
in
about,
Commander,
right?
yeah,
Yes.
where like you're supposed to have like 100 card deck or so, and like every card is different except for your energies or your lands, right? But in Magic the Gathering, I feel like a lot of the old community, older, not old, not like old as an age, but I'm like a lot of the veterans of the community have had like a think that Commander is giving like a breath of fresh air to the game because it allows for more strategy to play out, right, in deck building, and also because a lot of older cards become relevant again because of the limitations placed upon Commander decks. So like I was wondering how the community feels like the veterans of the community versus like the current players of the community. You know what I mean?
That is something that's been brought up recently, at least as far as those Yugi tubers interacting with the Magic tuber, is that Yu-Gi-Oh only has one format, right? You only have current.
Yeah.
You have the current, but you can take all the cards. You can take a card from Legends of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, the very first pack, and play them today. There's
Okay.
no other types of format though. And I think maybe there should be. Maybe there should be just like a legacy format. Maybe there should be and I mean people can do it, right? You could just say, oh well, this is a Highlander tournament, this is a tag tournament, right? But there's
Yeah.
no official rules for that, unfortunately.
Okay.
And maybe there should be, just to kind of keep things fresh and keep things different. And there are people that main Commander, right, in Magic. There
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
people that main Legacy in Magic, and maybe you'll see that more. And maybe that's the key to
Yeah.
bringing some older players back.
I think it's extended now. I don't think they use the term legacy anymore.
I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So extended.
they were different formats before, and I think Legacy's gone. I think now it's just extended because it just like they covered a very large swath of the cards anyway. There's no point in having the community split up even more.
Right. Right.
But yeah, like there are people who play extended like that basically at this point.
And I
Oh,
think there should be more. I think that's fun. I think it's fun to go back kind of and maybe for once in a while, right? Go back and play an older, slower, or play, oh, remember this broken strategy? Oh, well, you can use that. You can actually use Pot of Greed, right? Like you can
yeah,
use some
yeah,
of these old broken cards again. I
and
don't know. I think it'd be funny.
yeah, and I think it'd be a good idea to possibly bring it because it could help bring in like a veteran community back, like like the ones who have moved away from the game, kind of bring people back in. Like Yu-Gi-Oh's not going anywhere. It's still
Right.
an
Mm-hmm.
insanely popular card game, right?
Correct.
Um, like it's just one of those things where I think about like the overall health and like of the player base. Like I don't want card games to go away. Absolutely not.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
For
I
sure.
just think like how would it be to possibly if not inject new players in, but at least like bring older players who haven't played in a while back into the fold. But yeah, so that's just
No, I got you.
that was my question on it. And thanks for answering that. I was curious what the player
Mm-hmm.
what the scene is like nowadays. But yeah, I think that's all I got.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got too. We went pretty long here. So
Yeah,
if you've made it this far, thanks for sticking with us. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, 5 stars, all of that jazz on your favorite platform of choice. And that's all I've got. Lakan, anything else on your end?
I think that's all. I guess we should also just reminder that we do have a YouTube channel. We're gonna be having content coming up on there relatively soon.
Oh yeah, you'll see
We
that
have
all coming out soon.
a Twitter and an Instagram page going up as well. So we'll be posting maybe some pictures and snippets of stuff that we've done ourselves, maybe off recording and stuff like that. Just more content out there and a way for you guys to connect with us as well. Okay, I think
Sounds good.
that's all for today then. Okay, thanks for listening, guys, and take care. Bye bye.
We'll see you soon. Bye now.
My forearm muscle is like, please stop playing for like a day, and I'm like, no, I can't, because Apex is one of those shooters where like if I don't play it for like 2 days, everything's gone. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, Apex is that. Okay.
I also don't appreciate you insinuating that I'm jacking off because I am, but that's not the reason for my forearm hurting.